Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We are from Group A. We would like to present about festivals and religious observances. Our names of groups are Huriyah, Lutfiyah, Riswanda, and me, Istiwa, Nuril, Aini. Next. There are some new vocabularies. It's perbuatan, sincere, tulus, interpreted, ditafsirkan, faith, iman, grave, pilgrimages, ziarah kuburan, grudge, dendam, fellow, sesama, overseas, di luar negeri, corpse, mayat, sirin, tenang, sacrifice, pengorbanan, slaughter, pembantaian, bridegroom, calon pengantin, guardian, wali, witness, saksi, dowry, mahar, consent, ijab, forbidden, haram, application process, proses lamaran, provision, ketetapan, copulation, persetubuhan, bounty, karunia atau rahmat, genital, kemaluan, marriage contract, akad nikah, marriage proposal, anjuran pernikahan, pious, saleh atau alim, prevailing, pemberlakuan, righteous or fair, adil, unburdening, tidak membebani, wailing, ratapan, neglecting, mengabaikan, inshrouded, terselubung, recite, membaca, inaudibly, tidak terdengar, burial, pemakaman, weeping, tangisan. Next. Okay, there are 3 aspects from our materials. The first aspect is about Idul Fitri and Idul Adha. The second is about marriage in Islam, and the third is about funerals. Next. The first aspect will present by Riswanda. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nuril. Eid al-Fitri and Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Fitri is the closing day of Ramadan. Eid al-Fitri falls on the 1 of Shawwal in the Islamic calendar. After 1 month of fasting comes the day of victory for Muslims. A day of victory for Muslims who have fought with a sincere heart only because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The word Eid al-Fitri comes from Arabic, which means back to purity or nature. Eid al-Fitri is interpreted as a victory because every Muslim who has controlled the struggle of truth then wins because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Eid al-Fitri is synonymous with the homecoming tradition. Forgiveness or halal bihalal, friendship and grave pilgrimage the day before the holidays arrive. The tradition is interpreted by a Muslim to easily get rid of grudges, make peace with the relative. Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Adha on every Hijjah is also known as Hari Raya Haji, where Muslims who are performing the main pilgrimage wukuf at Arafah. They all wear white clothes and no stitch, which are called ihram clothes, symbolizing the of faith and outlook on life. In the history of Islam, the story of the example of Prophet is day as sacrifice offered when Prophet Ibrahim alaihissalam in this dream, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the order to Prophet Ibrahim alaihissalam to slaughter his favorite son Ismail. There are several traditions of celebrating Eid al-Adha from several unique regions in Indonesia, including manten sapi, mepe kasur, toron, gerbek gunungan, apitan, Mukri and Abda'u. And the next, maybe can
Okay, the next is about marriage.
Istiwa.
Okay, thank you, Wanda. The next is about married in Islam. Next, the first is the meaning and basic law of marriage. Marriage is a contract which bring ability for a man to have sex with a woman with begin with contract. Marriage lafaz or related meaning with it. Marriage is divine nature which have been already written in Allah says, and one of his signs is that he created mates for you from yourselves that you may find rest in them, and he put between you love and compassion. Most surely there are signs in this for a people who reflects. Quran Surah Ar-Rum 21st. Next, the second is about the requirements and the pillars of marriage. The requirements including the party who carries out the contract has the ability, and next both of the parties has full authority to do the contract, and the third is Kabul must not violate the consent, and the last is both of the parties who have contracted should be present. And the pillars of marriage including the first is guardian witness Kabul consent, and there are bridegroom men and bridegroom woman, and then dowry. Okay, next. The third is about khitbah. Khitbah is an application process which the family of bridegroom man visit host of the bridegroom woman. The attitude of the guardian should do when a woman is approached by a man who wants to propose her includes 1. Choose a solid husband and pious husband. Ask an opinion to the woman under the guardian and don't force her. Next, okay, the next is about the law of marriage. The law, if there are obligation, forbidden, sunnah, makruh, and mubah. It is obligation for people who has ability to marry, while there just have been pricing to the population which is worrying that it will fail on zina. It is forbidden for someone who has no ability to complete the necessary of basic necessities life of external and internal. It is sunnah for someone who has push lust and has ability to marry, and it is makruh for someone who has weak lust and no ability to give the wife expense. And the last, it is
Keaktif putih
mubah for
atare.
someone who doesn't push by the reason his duty to marry immediately. Okay, next.
Ay mga.
Benefits of proposal marriage. It is sunnah of the prophets and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And number 2, marriage is section of sign Allah's way. Number 3, it is one way to be rich. Number 4, marriage is praying and half of religion. Number 5, there is no celibacy in Islam. And the last is marriage is characteristic of creature's life. Next, the purpose of marriage. The first is implementation, the advice of Prophet Muhammad SAW. Number 2, increase the dissent, these members of religious community. Number 3, preserve their genitals, cause their views from forbidden things. Number 4, expulsion of the fluid which, if restricted and retained, will harm the entire body. Fulfillment of desire. Number 5, attainment of pleasure and enjoyment of Allah's bounty. Next. The entry of marriage. Regarding the validity of marriage and marriage registration section of Section 2 of the marriage law includes: first, marriage is legal if it is carried out according to the law of each religion and belief. Number 2, every marriage is recorded according to the prevailing laws and regulation. Next. Okay, the next material will present by Huriyah Lutfiyah. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you. My name is Huriyah Lutfiyah, and I will explain about the funerals. There is one fact of life about which we almost all prefer to remain ignorant. Next. Obligation upon the family deceased. The following are forbidden to the family of the deceased. The first is wailing, second is beating the cheeks and tearing the garments, third is shaving the head. Next. Performing the ritual washing. The best practice is to perform the washing of the corpse with water and leaves. Camphor should be added in the final washing, and then the verb in straw. The corpse should be washed at least 3 times. If 3 washings are not enough to make it properly clean, it should therefore be given extra washing. Next is the funeral prayers. The funeral prayer is a collective duty or a communally obligatory. This means if some people perform it, then the obligation has been fulfilled. If no one perform it, then all are guilty of a serious sin for neglecting the obligation. Next is placing the body for the funeral prayers. The deceased, enshrouded in a bier, is placed in front of the imam, who should stand opposite the head of a male corpse and opposite the middle of female. The verbs evolve from themselves into rows according of the number of those who take part, facing the Qibla. The usual practice is to have 3 rows at least, but if the number of people is small, there is no harm if they form only a single row. The service commences with the takbir, or the affirmation of the supreme greatness of Allah, or Allahu Akbar. Second is virtues of offering the funeral prayers. Allah's messenger said, whoever follow the funeral and offer the funeral prayers for it will get a reward equal 1 to 1 qira'ah, and whoever attends it till burial will get a reward equal to 2 qira'at. He replied, it is equal to 2 hook mountains. Next is presenting food to the family of deceased. It is a sunnah to present food to the family of the deceased. Abdullah ibn Jafar narrated that Allah's messenger said, prepare food for the family of Ja'far, for a matter has come to them which has occupied them. Reported by Abu Dawud and Ibnu Majah. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib was one of the cousins of the Prophet, and the narrator of the hadith, Abdullah ibn Ja'far, was his son. Next is passion in affliction. Upon hearing of death of a relative, of a friend, or of any other affliction, a Muslim is enjoined to say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi roji'un. To Allah we belong, and to Him we will return. Weeping is the permissible to weep quietly for the dear profited, then such weeping does not rise to the level of wailing. Next is the example of the funeral ceremony. Tanah Toraja. Tanah Toraja has a unique culture such as rumah adat Tongkonan, upacara pemakaman Rambu Solo, pekuburan Batu Lemo, pekuburan Bayi Kambira, and pekuburan Gua Londa. Tanah Toraja has a traditional ceremony that is usually performed, namely Rambu Solo. The Rambu Solo ceremony is a funeral ceremony. At the Rambu Solo ceremony, Toraja peoples believe that without this ritual ceremony, the spirit of deceased will bring bad luck to the family. There is highlight of the Rambu Solo funeral ceremony is Tanah Toraja people believe the principle is that the higher the place where the corpse is placed, then as soon as possible the spirit will go to Nirvana. If from the nobility who died, they must slaughter 24 or 100 buffaloes as a tinggoro or kurban. Next. So the last is this Islamic view of Tanah Toraja. In Tanah Toraja, the Muslim community is only a minority. So the Islamic culture practiced by the Muslim community in Tanah Toraja is still mixed and perform the ritual at the Aluk Todolo sect usually performs. Minority Muslim communities in Tanah Toraja are obligated to comply with the existing regulation and are obligated to perform several rituals that are usually carried out by the Aluk Todolo sect. The rituals that are usually carried out by the Aluk Todolo sect are against with Islam, so that Islam tries to anticipate the spirit and preservation of the Aluk Todolo culture and also tries to escape from the rituals activities carried out by the Aluk Todolo sect. The Muslim minority community in Tanah Toraja consider this to be a top challenge for the minority Muslims who live there. There are several actions taken by the Muslim community to stem the Aluk Todolo culture, including the spirit of carrying out the values of the Islamic religion, track the media, and the assistance and role of scholars who understand Islam well in their absence, appeals, fatwas, warning, and the talks of stakeholders will not be completely exposed to the public for those who claim to be Muslim and are limited among them. Next is, okay, maybe just that I will explain about funerals. Thank you.
Okay, I think enough from our groups, from group A. We are so sorry if there are any mistakes from our group. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.